Every day is darker than its predecessor. I say we cleave to our original scheme and make our move as planned." "My dear Dr. Bright," replied the prosecutor, for his companion was a physician of some considerable renown, "might I be permitted to make the case for inaction at greater length?" Bright, who, from decades of experience, sensed the onset of a monologue, rolled his eyes theatrically. The threatened speech never came, for both Bufford and Bright were overruled at once by the third gentleman, a gaunt, thoughtful-looking priest by the name of the Reverend Douglas Woodgrove. Generally to be seen in the garb of his vocation, today, like all of the gentlemen, he was dressed in sombre civilian browns and blacks, as though in search of anonymity. "I am not so sure," said Woodgrove evenly, "that we can set too much store by the weather. Our opponent is bound, in any case, to have established numerous escape routes. We shall have to keep our wits about us if we mean to get his attention." "It may even be the case," opined Dr. Bright, "that the conditions might make our quarry too confident, and therefore more likely to make a mistake, don't you think? Remember, gentlemen, he needs to make but a single error, and then most assuredly we have him." Bufford arranged his features into an expression of querulous scepticism. He took a breath and appeared again to be upon the cusp of indignant soliloquy, only to be interrupted once more. This time it was the fourth man who spoke up, a pale, quiet, cherubic-faced fellow named Vaughan, who, while not yet 40, was none the less the most inventive and far-seeing scholar of the human mind resident at that time in the metropolis. "I wonder," he began, and although his tone was very soft and very low, and although one had to strain to hear it over the clatter and hiss of the rain, the three senior men ceased at once their conversation and turned to face him. "I wonder if he knows that we have set our plans against him. Does he see, do you think, that we mean to track him down?" The Reverend Woodgrove frowned at this terminology. "Track him down, only to ask some robust and necessary questions, surely. Why, you make it sound as though we are some hunting party, and he the poor doomed stag." Vaughan smiled tightly. "Is the comparison so very inapt? Upon this occasion, Reverend, I doubt greatly whether mere conversation shall be sufficient." As Mr. Vaughan had been speaking, the sound of heavy footsteps upon the staircase became increasingly loud. Almost at the final syllable, the door to the little room was wrenched open, and a fifth man entered, mustachioed, dressed in damp tweed, dripping from head to toe, and exhibiting every sign of extreme anxiety and distress. "Gentlemen," he said, and his voice was rather high and quavering, for the individual was very young, not quite 24, and still distinctly green. "We are discovered." If this entrance should strike you as being in any way theatrical in nature, the assessment may be a just one. The individual was none other than that promising journalist, Mr. J.G. Kelman, who was in his spare time a keen and talented amateur actor. The others turned as one to face the newcomer, around whom puddles and rivulets of rainwater were forming upon the floor. Naturally enough, it was Bufford who spoke first. "What do you mean, discovered?" "Moreau," said the youngest man, "has found me out, found us out at last." "Are you sure?" asked Woodgrove. "He knows I'm not a scientist. He knows I'm not who I pretended to be. He used the word spy to my face." "That is unfortunate," Bufford said. "Yet we ought not to be too hasty." Dr. Bright saw an opportunity to disagree with his learned friend. "On the contrary, speed is essential. If what Mr. Kelman says is true, and I have not the slightest reason to doubt him, our enemy will even now be making plans to fly." The Reverend Woodgrove ignored the men who were seated and asked the young Kelman directly. "You're certain he said spy? You're sure he's seen through?"